Welcome back. Welcome back once again. This is Rod Powell, and you are listening to the You Should Get a License podcast, your number one source for information, education, inspiration, motivation, elevation, all those things, really regarding the most underrated career opportunity in business today. We are talking about a career in the insurance industry, in financial services. Really excited about, the guest today. He's a friend. Someone who I've actually known since he actually came into the business. And it's always exciting to see someone enter the space and then accomplish, their goals and become successful, and then start to expand and evolve into other areas and other market segments within the business as well. And that's what this gentleman has done. So I want to welcome, without further ado, my friend, insurance professional, Mr. Zachary Wilson. Zach, how you doing, sir?
Good, Rod. Thanks for having me on, man. It's an honor.
Hey, look, man, absolutely. I've been looking forward to the conversation because as I was mentioning to you, we speak to, agencies and we speak to agents, but we don't always, speak to individuals who are in the business that are actually being of service to the agents. So I know that you're chiming in, from up in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. But I wanted to just get a little snapshot and give some insight into what you do on the day-to-day basis. So can you share, what market segmentation you're in, what you actually do in the business and how you bring value, to the greater insurance community right now?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So what I'm currently doing is I'm an agency manager with a primarily Medicare-based FMO. Field marketing organization. And right now, my day-to-day is dealing with agencies all across the country that we currently are contracted with, helping them reach their goals, helping them with any contracting, really giving them any ideas to think outside the box, and mainly just to get where they want to be goal-wise. So we all have goals in life, whether that be through work, personal goals, everything. It's a great way to kind of get their vision and drill down to what exactly needs to be done for them to reach those goals. It's great because we have a back office support system where I work now, marketing, contracting, compliance. We have a videographer full time. Actually, there's two gentlemen there full time. That's what they do. So we're big presence on YouTube and things like that. Outside of dealing with current customers, a huge role of ours now is actually recruiting. So I'm calling all over the country, picking up hot market segments to where seniors are moving. It kind of seems that a lot of seniors are all kind of moving to the same place, whether that be Texas, huge growth in Tampa, Florida. South Florida, I think, is getting a little too expensive for people to live there. So it's pushing them up North Florida. And then, like I said, over into that Tampa, Clearwater area, and also in Texas as well. So calling around all over the country and seeing, hey, are you currently working in the Medicare market? Are you working with an FMO? And, if you are working with an FMO, what would you change about it? I operate from the mentality of, hey, you don't know what's out there until you give somebody 5 minutes of your time. And at the end of that 5 minutes, if we're a great fit for you, cool. And if not, hey, no harm, no foul. You know what else is out there,
That's right. That's right. Hey, a wise man always listens, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, man, I think that's very helpful, and it's very cool too. Like and I use the term cool, really to express the amount of value that you actually add to other agents and agencies. So when someone is getting into the business and they're trying to determine where they want their focus to be, whether it's going to be on health insurance or property and casualty or auto or some special lines or commercial or Medicare, in your case, if they're saying, hey, look, I want to get into this Medicare space, but I'm not really sure, how, then you're actually going to help them by bringing all the tools to help them build their business. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Where we've seen a huge growth is, Rod, you would not believe the amount of PNC brokers, financial planners that outsource their Medicare business for nothing.
Yeah.
So my idea behind that is they've already built this trust with you and trusted you with their financial well-being. Why would you let that business walk out of the door? Get licensed, learn a little bit about Medicare, because the thing about Medicare is, you have Part A, Part B, right? But you need that supplement. You need that extra coverage. It's not a, hey, nah, I think I'll pass on it. You need it. So, well, why let money walk out of the door? You've built that relationship. So I'm trying to get people to, we've noticed a little bit, and I do a lot here with the Chamber of Commerce here in South Point, Pennsylvania. Lovely chamber, man. I mean, you meet a lot of people there, but I met with a financial planner today, and he's, was telling me that he outsources all this Medicare, and, told him the exact same thing I just told you. And he said, is it that easy to get licensed? I said, you studied your test and you passed your exam for your whatever series it is that you need to be a financial planner, but he goes, yeah, well, you took a harder test than probably the health insurance test. So he didn't realize how easy it was to get a license, just put in the time and schedule the test and do it. So we're going to meet on that too. So, and that's just one example, everything I've seen since I've been into this space, trying to call people that aren't already in Medicare, the amount of people that outsource it is phenomenal.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, man. No, look, it's a great place, that you found yourself, in this space, because when we first met, you came in as an agent, then you were, a sales team leader. So you're already in the business of helping people to get to where they want to go and kind of accomplish what they want to accomplish. And now you're taking professionals who have already kind of reached a cap, right? Or kind
Absolutely.
of ran into an area where they're not maximizing all of the opportunity and helping them to kind of drive that to the next level. So I want to come back to that, because I do want to touch on like field marketing organizations and like what that really means, for someone to participate there. Because when you think about Medicare, you think about, carriers that are offering it as well, that say, hey, look, come and, just work with the carrier. But, it may not give, all of the aspects of support, that you're able to do right now with agencies that you're working with. So why is a field marketing organization beneficial, for an agent?
Well, I'll tell you what, we could take an agent from, I don't know anything about Medicare, all the way through. We have a couple divisions in our company. I deal with the agencies. So I'm looking for people who have, 10 or more agents already underneath them. But we also have a division that will take somebody from not knowing anything about Medicare, taking them through the process, the certifications, the contracting, everything like that. We also have access to the top level commission contracts. That's another huge advantage of working with an FMO. Another advantage of that is our marketing. You'll have a marketing department. If you want to do a rebranding, I'm doing a rebranding for a guy out in Philadelphia right now that just simply wants to change the name of his agency because it's not getting the results that he wants. So he thinks by changing the name, it's going to do something, and he has a really good plan behind it. But it's not so simple as you probably know to change your agency's name. If you have an agency contract, you have this name. You can't just say, hey, I just want to change the name of it. It doesn't work like that. Right. You got to go through, you got to reapply, you got to fill out the applications, you got to do all the contracting over again. Yep. So pretty much what I'm saying is I'm taking everything that I could only imagine for a broker or an agency owner to try to figure out themselves. I have a team of professionals that knows exactly what to do, what to sign, what needs to be done. And it's pretty cool to have that right behind me in my office. If you want a marketing piece, we have a marketing department in our company as well. And also we do a fantastic job of, we have what's called an AMP program. So what that means is they can get money from us for marketing purposes just by writing business. So if you go straight to, let's just say it's a United Healthcare or an Aetna, I feel like you're just a number. If you're working with an FMO, people are attached to you. It's not just me. There's another associate of mine who's also an agency manager. And then we also have a director. We're each responsible for assigned agencies that we deal with across the country. So you become friends with them. You become, interesting. I'm a Miami Heat fan, and the guy I was talking to out in Philly, he said, how was your night last night? And I told him this morning, I'm like, not too good. I don't know when this podcast is going to air, but they lost to the Celtics last night. But you just build that relationship there. If they need somebody, they have somebody to call, and you're not getting I feel like, at least in my FMO, people answer the phone. You call carriers, you're on hold, you're waiting, you can't get the answer you want. You may get the right answer, you may get the wrong answer, depending on which customer service representative you're talking to. We're going to find you the right answer. And if I don't know the right answer, I've got a slew of people that have been in the business for years that can get me the right answer. So working with an FMO has so many upsides, to whether it's contracting, whether it's compliance. With Medicare, there's a lot more in compliance coming from the life insurance and supplemental side of things, where we had compliance, but not too much. When it comes to Medicare, because the government is involved,
Everything's
you got to
regulated.
watch out. Everything is regulated. Every marketing piece has to be submitted to CMS for approval. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the Joe Namath commercials that were on that talked about certain plans of Medicare and features. Can't do that. So that all got pulled, and now it's starting a lot in the compliance background with Medicare on what you can do, what you can't do, and what kind of stipulations you have to have on it. So it's a total different world that I'm operating in now, but it's really cool to see how different parts of insurance actually work.
Fascinating, man. Fascinating. And what's really fascinating about it is two things. One, it's service centric, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned, hey, taking someone through the entire process from not having dealt with the Medicare space to learning all about the marketing, the compliance, the plan types, everything they need in order to be efficient. But it's also fascinating from the standpoint of, you kind of bridging into this space, right? And someone's listening saying, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't even know like something like that existed. Yeah. Not just an FMO, but an agency manager at an FMO, that they could have a career at an FMO doing something similar to what you're doing right now. So I want to go back, man, and just talk about, your story a little bit, and just kind of take our listeners, on the journey, of Zach Wilson and kind of where he's been. So I want you to go all the way back, and I want you to think back to when you were like 9 or 10 years old, right?
Okay.
And I want you to share, what was your dream job growing up? What did you dream of being? Because typically we don't dream of being in this industry. What did you dream of being?
9 or 10 years old. I think you could have found me with a basketball in my hands at all times. So I was really tuned into, basketball. That was really my thing growing up. Outside of that, man, I flopped all over the place. At one time, I wanted to be a teacher. At one time, I wanted to be in business, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I saw a lot, growing up just south of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, living with my family. And I don't know, do you want me to dive into kind of how I was brought up and kind of how my story? Okay. So born and raised in a small town called Claysville, Pennsylvania. And my father, Jim, my mom, Susan, I had my brother, Jacob, and then my sister, Letty, came along later. And man, you never realize what you see as a kid, and then it resonates with you in life, right? Mm-hmm. So my dad was always involved with us. My dad worked at a college right up the street in Washington, Pennsylvania. He would come home at night, whether we had practice, whether it was basketball, football, whatever. He coached. He would take us there. He'd come home, and while we all got ready for bed, he went downstairs and he actually did upholstery work. So redoing couches, chairs, draperies, awnings, things like that. And he hustled because he wanted my mom to stay home and raise us. So he did everything he could to make ends meet. And it's funny because you look where you're at now and you look back at your childhood, right? And you see that stuff. And I saw it from a young age, like coming back to look at it, like, man, dad was doing whatever he had to do. He didn't miss a practice. He was, going to work. He was doing extra stuff just so we could have the things we needed growing up. Mm-hmm. So that was really, really big for me. And along with my mom, man, my mom was at home all the time, made sure, we were well taken care of. Fast forward into that, let's get into middle school. We opened up a cafe, and instead of me just saying, oh yeah, cool. Like my mom and dad own a small little restaurant or whatever. No, I was in there working since I was 14 years old. And it's sometimes I just didn't want to go, but like I knew like my mom would make me go, right? Like, hey, you got to go. But now I think back and look at it, man, it taught me how to talk to people. It taught me how the meaning of earning a dollar. It taught me how to count money. It's a crazy thing now that people don't know how to count back change. But I saw all different aspects of that stuff, man. So I was working since I was like 14 years old. The only time I didn't have to work there was during basketball season or football season, but I would usually go in on the weekends. So like during my childhood, I would say like my parents were a huge influence on me growing up. Being the oldest of 3 siblings as well, they all look at you. So that was always something that stuck out with me. Then I went through, high school, college, went to Kent State University, and then I moved to Cleveland shortly after, and, had a couple of jobs, and then I was a college recruiter. Okay. I get married. I adopt my now 14-year-old daughter. So it's me, my wife, 14-year-old daughter, or at the time she was 2.5, almost 3 years old. And 2 weeks after I got married, I got let go of my job being a college recruiter. And it was simply for the fact is they got too big too quick. And they had to make some cuts, and I was low man on the totem pole. So a couple weeks after that, I got stir crazy sitting at home trying to collect unemployment and do all this stuff and find another job where insurance was calling. So I picked up the phone, answered a call from a supplemental company, was kind of iffy about it. But on my honeymoon, which was literally 2 weeks before that, I had met a guy named Chad, and I'll leave his last name out of it. But I knew he was in insurance. So I called him and said, hey, what's up with this insurance stuff? And I told him the company's name and things like that. And he was trying to tell me, like, you can make a really good living off of this. If nothing else is calling, what else do you have to lose?
Right.
I said, you're right. I got a wife who's not working. I got, a daughter too. I locked myself in the Parma library right outside of Cleveland, Ohio for like 3 or 4 days, pounded through my certifications, all that, got my license, started selling insurance, started doing it in the supplemental market. Similar. That's how we met. And, primarily working in schools, selling things like cancer insurance, accident insurance, heart attack and stroke, life insurance, disability, things like that. It really kind of took off. But I noticed that I was relying too much. Like, what if a school cancels? What if there's a snow day? What if there's this? At the time, we didn't have COVID, so we couldn't sign stuff over the phone. So I had to figure out a way to make money. So I started working part-time at Dick's Sporting Goods all through almost all of my beginning 3 years of insurance, just to know that I had this guaranteed money coming in. And they actually let you have dental insurance too as a part-time employee. So that way I had dental insurance as well for me and my family. From there, because I knew insurance was going to pan out. I knew this was what I was doing, and I made it work. Hours upon hours driving 2.5 hours, 3 hours from my house, turning around, having to go back, work a part-time job, go up, wake up, and do it all over again. It was a few years of doing that, but it all paid off. As after I met you for the first time in Washington, D.C. at the leadership training.
The 212?
212.
Yes.
And shortly after that, I met a guy who was actually my roommate, who said, hey man, we got some things going on down in South Florida. And I had always wanted to live in South Florida ever since, I was a little kid. I wanted to go to Florida. My parents never had.
Hold on. Now I don't want to jump in, but I want to go back because I want to make sure that we're extracting some of the key things that you're saying. You were talking about your childhood, and you mentioned, your dad working in the college during the day, then doing the upholstery at night, right? Doing whatever he needed to do to take care of his family. And you said, hey, look, you don't look at these things or appreciate them until later on. But you think about the work ethic, right, that it instilled in you to do what you needed to do for your family. Because you mentioned, hey, look, when I was older, I'm working at, it's kind of ironic. He was working at a college, then you were working at a college too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit, I guess. Now thinking about it, I never thought about it like that, but yeah.
You know, when you ended up getting laid off, you know, you said, hey, the insurance is calling. You didn't lay down. You immediately started to look for other opportunities, and you were open to it, right? You were open to that opportunity. My question is, before you started getting those calls, had an insurance career ever crossed your mind?
No, never
thought about it, right?
Never. It goes back to that old saying: you're either born into it or it finds you. And insurance found me. Nobody in my family sold insurance. Didn't know really anything about it. I just knew I had to pay car insurance and I had health insurance and all that fun stuff, but never knew that a cancer policy or things like that even existed.
Look, I didn't even know a cancer policy existed when I first started, man. You know, it's one of those things where, like you said, you're born into it or it finds you. It's like, once you find it, once it finds you, right? Once it finds you, it's one of those things where once you're in it, you're kind of in it, right?
Yeah.
And you're not leaving, right?
No.
Like if you get a taste of what it can do for you, then you're like, hey, this is the industry that I'm going to stay in. So, you know, I just wanted to highlight that a little bit for, you know, someone who may have been introduced, who has been getting maybe some calls or seeing some ads or seeing some articles. And, you know, your friend said, hey, look, you know, if there's not any other opportunities, what else are you looking at? You know, right? Mm-hmm. And really what I hear is, what have you got to lose?
Yeah.
You got to lose by giving it a shot. The other thing that you mentioned was, in your first 3 years, even though, you know, you're having some success, you're kind of finding your way, you're learning the business, starting to build, you still kept that part-time job as well, right? So basically you did the same thing that your dad did. Hey, you know, you're out during the day hitting those schools, and I know those drives. I remember those drives, right? Yeah. You're there at dark 30, you know, and you're staying till the end, to the, you know, before the first car arrives and after the last car leaves, right? Follow.
Absolutely.
First and last out. I remember I got it.
Oh, so yeah.
You're going through that whole process. And then afterwards, you're saying, hey, look, you know, I'm still going to do, you know, my part-time gig to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do for my family. Once again, it kind of comes back into that work ethic, but it also speaks to the flexibility that insurance allows as well, right? Because Absolutely. you technically could have worked full-time at Dick's, right? And then, like, on your days off, still worked inside of the business, you know, maybe a couple of days during the week. So I just wanted to hop in there and just kind of highlight a few of those things. But
and to kind of feed off of what you just said, you know, we look at, you know, I guess kind of out of the woods, but maybe not out of the woods yet. But you look at our current pandemic situation, and you look at the bad of things. But I think sometimes we focus too much on the bad, not on the good. Had that happened, like during that time, I would have been making individual appointments at night with anybody that wanted to talk about insurance and closing them over the phone or over a Zoom. We didn't have that option back when that was. So, you know, I had to pick up that extra job. But again, you know, I networked with a lot of people. I sold insurance to some people that I met fitting for golf clubs. I mean, it just kind of happened that way. You know, I was working in the right department. Yeah. But yeah, man, it's always something I've had in me. And really, like you said, I mean, no one's ever really listened to my story before, like in depth. And, you know, you're right. I mean, the work ethic was instilled by looking at my father and knowing that in my head about what he had to do for his family. And you're right, man. I mean, I never looked at it before, but I guess I did the same thing. So,
yeah, no, very cool, man. No, so you were, all right. Like I said, let's go back. Okay.
Let's go back.
Yeah. After the train DC, you had the opportunity to move down to Florida. Okay. Boom.
So at the time I was working with Tom, a good buddy of mine. We had started selling that, you know, life insurance and life insurance only. So we started shooting up the ranks in the company, and opportunity came in South Florida. Never thought I would make it there. Ended up taking it. You know, there were some people that I worked with in Ohio that became family, and it kind of was I don't want to use the word sucks, but it sucked having to tell them that I was leaving. But I'm glad I did what I did. Moved down to South Florida, started doing some stuff in the city of Miami, Broward County School Board, Palm Beach, all over the place down there in South Florida under a management. Management gets shaken up after about 2 months that I'm there. And here, a guy who I truly admire, who I was introduced to in Ohio, was moving from California down to South Florida, where he had been previously, to become a regional manager, and I was going to be working underneath him. And we had a new guy who I still, think of, have a lot to really thank for, coming from Vegas to be the state manager. And I said, oh no, I got it good now. I'm like the right-hand man down in Florida. And now all these people are coming. What's going to happen to me? And I'm a firm believer, Rod, of you meet certain people for a certain reason, and things always happen for a reason, because those guys, and I'm going to shout them out, man. Todd, Michael Hogan, Todd Lauer, and Michael Hogan.
Great guys.
I mean, dude, they got me to think big. They got me to think bigger. They got me to not doubt myself. Really put me in a position to succeed. And then, things started taking off from there, man. I was living good. I was eating. I wasn't having to work at Dick's anymore. I didn't work at Dick's when I was in Florida.
Oh yeah. Y'all were high flying down there. Y'all were the nature boys. Y'all were like the four horsemen.
Yeah, man. I mean, right. So when I was down there, I just got embraced and engulfed in the culture, and, became a huge Miami Hurricanes fan just because I'm a huge college football guy, and they were the closest team down there. So you started following them, and then you start getting in with all the different ethnicity that's down there. And then you go into certain schools and you've got to have someone that speaks Creole, someone that speaks Spanish. It was just a great melting pot of America, really. And I just loved the scene. I loved the everything about South Florida. I loved. Was doing really, really well. Now here, was doing well, and had to take a step back for reasons that I'll leave out. Had to take a step back, get a call from Todd and Michael. They want to hop on a conference call. And, another major person in my life is going to be introduced here in a minute. A young guy by the name, I'm going to shout him out, Tucker Doucette. He wants to come over. He's moving from Tampa and he's moving over here, but they're like, Z, he just needs some guidance, man. He just needs some guidance. Will you, work underneath him? Because I couldn't be a manager at the time. Had some things going on. And I did. I was excited because I had met Tucker previously. And him and I, man, we really formed a really, really close bond. He's family to me. And, we helped each other out, majorly. And I felt like I've influenced him. He's influenced me. And we built a really, really good team down there. And I had a lot of fun selling insurance. And then I don't want to harp too much on that because I know we only got an hour, but, built a really good relationship and did not want to leave. But again, certain things had happened in South Florida, the pandemic, and then things in my personal life where I came back to Southwestern Pennsylvania because, number one, I needed a change because South Florida is very, very expensive to live in. Number two, I needed family around me more than ever. And I came back a single father. So, came back and started doing the same exact job, same exact company, back with the exact same person that I started doing insurance with. But it's like, one of those things where you don't, I did it for darn well almost a year, and things just weren't panning out from where schools wouldn't let us in. Just things like that. You go from dropping, going to the schools in South Florida and you're dropping a fish line in a pond full of fish to go into getting a school scheduled, going and dropping that same line into a pond that maybe has 20 people in it instead of 120. Right. So, just couldn't get it going.
Culture change.
Exactly.
Obviously, you're in the middle of a pandemic at the same time.
Right. And then also on top of that, I'm a single dad right now of a 13-year-old.
Family is changing. Family dynamics are changing.
Yes. So came back, adjusted, right? realized what I was doing was not panning out. I needed to think about somebody other than myself. I needed to think about myself other than others being disappointed of me making a career change. So I started looking for other jobs, started putting my resume out there, things like that. I thought I was just going to go do, I didn't want to do car sales. I knew I wanted to be in sales, right? So I found a couple different companies, but, they just didn't fit. All of a sudden, the company that I'm working with now gives me a call. Actually, no, it was a recruiting agency gives me a call because I had applied for a Medicare sales rep position in the company that I'm working for. I interviewed with the recruiting firm, and the girl said, "Listen, I'm going to throw this out there, but this company that you're interviewing for, they need an agency manager, and you've got the experience, and I think you're selling yourself short. Can I present your resume and a recommendation for that position?" And I said, well, listen, like, I don't know what Medicare, like, I know what Medicare is, but I've never done anything with it. How am I going to be an agency manager of a Medicare brokerage, right? Or an FMO. And sure enough, I got an interview, and me and the guy who interviewed me hit it off very, very well. Not only on a business level and a goal setting level, but on a personal level. He had just been going through a divorce, had children. And we connected so personally that I think the business became like almost an afterthought. Had a second interview. That guy liked me as well. But I will say, I would not have gotten that position had I not gotten all the experience from the time I got my license to that moment. I wouldn't have had stories to tell. I wouldn't have had marketing strategies that I put into place, promotional strategies I put into place, different ideas. The previous company gave me all of that. So, and kudos to the people that influenced my life in that company as well, So
thank you, man.
They took a chance on me. They took a chance on me, and yeah, I'm here where I am now. I'm learning the Medicare business. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I work with a company here, like I said, South Point, Pennsylvania. It's Cannonsburg, PA, but we have a nice little business park over here called South Point, which has a lot of companies in it. And things are going good, man. I mean, I am back. It's kind of weird going from a 1099 employee to a W-2 plus bonus employee.
There's really no such thing as a 1099 employee, right? Right. Now, look, but it's interesting. I want to rewind a little bit.
Let's rewind.
I want to rewind and go back where you talked about, being in Ohio, right? And when you were transitioning to Florida, the people that you were working with being like family.
Yeah.
And moving to Florida, right? And finding those relationships and finding family there as well, right?
Absolutely.
So we have our core family, right? Our spouse, our children, our immediate family, but we also have, a very close extended family. And then moving back and saying, hey, look, here I'm back with this extended family, but branching out, and then going into the new company and saying, hey, look, we're hitting it off. And now it's feeling like family here. And what I want to kind of bring out of that is, this industry, the relationships that you develop are so deep, right? And so connected. So beyond the amount of money, that you can make, and you've made, listen, I've seen your numbers at the organization. So I know you made some money, right? Yeah. Right. And I'm pretty sure you're doing okay now, and you're in your position now. Yeah. So here's the thing. What have the relationships that you've developed, what has having the right culture to be a part of? Because at the time, even the organization that we were in together, the culture was very strong, right? Which kind of drove those personal relationships. And I still have great relationships with the people from the organization as well, including some you mentioned. So I know exactly what you mean. What has that meant for your success in this business? And how, for someone that's maybe bridging into the business, like, how important is that for them to be successful?
I would say it's everything. You are the company that you keep. Um, Successful people surround themselves with other successful people. People that want to be successful want to hang out with the guys that are, putting up big numbers or recruiting or whatever the case may be. You want to surround yourself with successful people because it's like almost an addiction, man. I mean, when I would work with, we'll just use Tucker as an example. When I would work with him, I would see him, man, Tucker's already at, XYZ, and I'm still sitting here, and it's healthy competition. But you want to see each other do well. And I think it goes beyond that. Those guys were there for me when I was at my lowest, when I was in South Florida by myself with at the time an 11-year-old, and they surrounded me, and anything that I needed. They were more concerned about my well-being than the numbers I was putting up. And that meant a lot. When you want to work and you want to grind and you want to hustle just because you have so much respect for your upline, man, that's a different game. You want to make them do well. You want to do well, and you want to have them, I almost like, be proud of you, be thankful for you. And it was great, man. I would say, you see, and I know you've seen it too, people with so much potential, so much natural potential that they don't even know, but they're hanging out with the wrong people. Yeah. And they're not getting to where they need to be. So I would say, surrounding yourself with successful people and people that are invested into you is everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it really is a people business, right?
Yeah.
It's about the people. So now at this stage, you've kind of transitioned, from the agent phase, and now, you're at the agency manager, kind of on the other side, being of service to agency owners and brokers. How do you stay, like, what keeps you motivated now? What's keeping you moving? What's keeping Zachary, looking towards the finish line?
I've never lost that self-employed mindset. I am in a company right now that I really, really like, and I'm only 2 months in. And I want the same thing that I wanted from, people like Michael, people like Tucker, people like Todd, for people for me to make a big impact and for me to be appreciated. That's what I live off of. Bringing on that new agency, getting that bonus at the end of the month, making sure people are hitting their numbers results in my paycheck. So it keeps you entangled in the business, as opposed to, oh yeah, I didn't hit this goal today. Oh, well, I'll get it tomorrow. No, you've always got to keep that grinding mentality or you'll fall out of it. So today, just to give you a snapshot of my day, had a very good meeting with a rather large brokerage virtually in Philadelphia. From there, went to a networking lunch for the Chamber of Commerce here. Me and my coworker spent about 2.5 hours there networking. From there, came back to the office, finished up some required phone calls and wrap-ups for the end of the day. Came home, told my daughter that dinner's going to be a little bit late tonight, and jumped on the podcast. But eventually, man, I will tell you, there's some people out there doing some big things with Medicare and life insurance in a whole, that once I get comfortable in this Medicare space to where I'm operating at a level that I feel competent, I'm going to start selling, life insurance and things like that, because it's out there. I have the license. All you got to do is do your CE credits and keep it up, and pay your renewals. But that's going to be put back into play here too, because before I know it, I'm going to have a high school freshman here as 34 years old. At 35, I'll be 35 by the time she's in high school. I got college coming. I'm going to have to start really sacking some stuff away for that. So that's definitely going to be put back into my arsenal of doing evening and weekend appointments for life insurance, because I'll tell you, man, there's a certain satisfaction that you get when you provide somebody with something that they need, or maybe they didn't even know they needed it. Yeah. And I know you can think of this or you can relate to this as well, but people really you've almost got to take your benefits in your own hands. Some of these companies, oh yeah, this is what you get, XYZ. But, especially with life insurance, hey, you can't take that policy with you. A lot of people out there don't even know what the difference between term, whole, or universal life is. And they think they're good, and they go to retire and they're age 65, 66, 67, however old they may be, and realize that their, policy doesn't go with them. And then they're looking for an insurance. And unfortunately, life insurance goes off age. And, they're going to be paying a lot more for coverage that they had if they just would have put it in place, 10, 15 years prior. I got a lot of self-satisfaction out of that, knowing people had peace of mind when they left their workplace, that they had something that they could keep with them. So that was one of my major things that I really liked about being on that selling end, being on that provider end, is educating, not overselling, and getting people what they need.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Look, I love the fact that you're still open. Like you're kind of like you got licensed in 2014. So you are
14, yeah.
2014. So 8 years in. And you're kind of you've had success in one area, one market segment. And now you're saying, hey, look, even though I've had some success there, I'm not going to just stop. I want to evolve, and now I want to become an expert in this Medicare space. And as I become more of an expert in this Medicare space, okay, then I'm still going to incorporate some of the things that I've done in the past, to continue to build from there. So tell me something, man, like what's the end goal for you? 10 years from now, where is Zach Wilson in this industry?
10 years from now, one thing I think that's really starting to kind of, I think, going to be my path is to have my own agency. I really want to have my own insurance agency in all aspects, to be a one-stop shop for everything. That's my end goal. Something that, hey, if my daughter isn't really sure what she wants to do with her life, whether that's college, whether that's not. And by the way, Rod, I know we're like big components on furthering your education, but let's just face it, man. There's a lot of times that education just isn't for everybody. Like furthering education past high school just isn't for everybody. I don't think we talk about insurance enough in high schools, man, to be honest with you. You can make a lot of money. You look at these kids out here with their TikToks and their YouTubes and things like that. These kids making money while they're in high school. You really think they're going to go to college? Maybe, maybe not. But like, there's people out there that just education is not for them. You get your insurance license. You could start making money 18, as soon as graduation, take your test, get your license. I don't think we talk about it enough on that level. But going back to what I was saying, it would be cool to have something where if my daughter's unsure what she wants to do with her life, hey, come to work with your dad, check this out, see what I do, and be able to pass that down. I think would be something really cool that I'm really opening my eyes to. Because like you said, we both started off in very similar insurance backgrounds, and you think that's it, but you literally open your eyes and you see what else you can do with that license. Yeah. And I do have to remain licensed, even though I'm not selling Medicare right now, or Medicare supplements or Advantage plans or anything like that. Still have to maintain my license because I have to have, keep it up to date to be able to talk about it. So that I would tell anybody, if you do have your insurance license, never let that thing drop, because you don't know when something in your life is going to change. And especially now with all of our technology, you can make a couple $100 here, $1,000 here, just by meeting with someone and helping them.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, the opportunities are really endless. And, it's one of those things where just by having that license, right? Even with the experience, you had the experience, but that license is really what qualified you to be in the position that you are right now. Right. It's like, you could have still had the same experience, but let's just say you said, hey, I'm going to let my license lapse. You wouldn't be able to do it.
Nope.
So, it's important to, keep that certification, get that designation, and just on the education piece, once again, look, education is important. But as, both of our, I would say, mentors in this business, Scotty Lee used to say, education covers a lot of ground, but it doesn't cultivate any of it. So, it is about, those folks who are going out there and kind of grinding, hitting that ground, pounding it. You got you got young kids in crypto, you got young kids in currency exchanges and drop shipping and real estate stuff and all these cool things, YouTubing, and making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in some cases. So there is a ton of opportunity. And there's also a sharpness of minds, I think, in our newer generation that we don't always give folks enough credit for. So I think that, listen, those opportunities are fantastic. They're phenomenal. But think of what that person who has that same mind, and let's say they aren't going to a 2-year or 4-year institution, but they take that and decide to put it into this industry. One of the most successful people that I knew in this business, and you know him as well, only had a 10th grade education, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we're talking about, multimillionaire. So, in this generation, we have folks who are very sharp. So I think you're spot on, man, and saying, hey, look, it's an opportunity. And not to disregard, those who have, secondary degrees or even advanced.
Yeah.
Because we have, PhDs, doctors, have lots of people who are joining the business that have professional degrees and designations and have been working in other industries as well. I think the point that you're making is that it's open for everybody. There's no limitation, really, for anyone who is willing to have that work ethic, right? Really be about, I'm taking a thing from what you said, right? From what you said in our conversation, having that work ethic, right? Being willing to connect with people and being open to listen, to ideas, and being, willing to keep growing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what this is from our conversation, right? The work ethic. It's hey, being open when opportunities are presented and being willing to continue to evolve, right? And not getting complacent with where you are, man. So I think it's pretty phenomenal. Tell me, I think you kind of summarized it, in our conversation, but if you had to kind of summarize it into a sentence, your life before getting licensed versus your life after getting licensed.
I think before my getting my license, I didn't have much direction. I was selling myself short. I was, taking jobs and trying to find jobs that, would just check the box, if you will. After getting my license, I felt more professional. Obviously the income was there. And really it gives you a direction on where you may want to take your life. And especially like being on a different aspect of insurance now, seeing like it, you just don't have to be an individual guy, an individual producer or district manager or an agency manager or anything like that. There's so many jobs out there that you can do in insurance. It's pretty cool, man. I would say since getting my license, I have more direction. I think I kind of walk with a certain kind of, I don't know how I'm trying to say it, but I think I just carry myself different. And I think higher, and I set higher goals for myself.
Awesome. Do you feel like being in the industry has given you direction? Like, I think that I love it. Do you think it has changed you as far as like who you are as a person? Like, has it like
absolutely
character? Okay. All right.
Absolutely. I will say I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I got my family values and my core here. But man, I grew when I was in South Florida for almost 4 years. Being ready to be thrown with different culture. It just, being able to talk to rich, to poor, to middle class, to African American, white, Hispanic, anything, man. I mean, everything that can be thrown at you was thrown at me in South Florida. And I really grew there as a person, as an individual. And I'll tell you what, man, even though I'm a single father, there's something so gratifying knowing that, I did this myself.
Yeah.
Like I overcame adversity. I thank God every day that I adopted my daughter, because she's my why. She's my everything. She's, I just want her to get her to see and see what's possible out there in the world. Because there's some things she's going to, I can't relate to her. I don't think a lot of people can, but I mean, you meet people for a reason. And unfortunately I met, her mother for this reason, because now I'm her father.
Yeah.
So she's everything to me, and she's the reason that I keep going, and I didn't stop, and I didn't feel sorry for myself. That I just kept grinding and kept that hustler mentality, and just grew, man, grew as a person. And like I said, there's something so satisfying of like doing it all myself.
Yeah.
So it's very, because there were times where I didn't know how I was going to do it by myself. But now I'm in a good spot, man, for a long time. I like where I'm at. I'm happy.
Yeah, man. No, I love it. I love it. Before we wrap up, for someone who's listening to this conversation, and perhaps they are thinking of transitioning careers. Maybe they have been in the business for a long time. Maybe they haven't been in the business at all. They don't have a license, but they've seen an ad. They're getting those same phone calls that you were getting. What words of guidance would you kind of share with them along there? What they're contemplating, I'll say that.
Yeah, I would say if you have people calling you and you're not doing anything, take the interview. The worst you're going to hear is, hey, that company may not be for me. I would also say, do your research. You can do property casualty, you could do life insurance, you can do pet insurance, you can do supplemental insurance. Really just research what you can do. And if you have companies calling you, look them up. They leave voicemails, look them up, see if it's something that interests you. But I would say the same thing, that why not? Like, why not? Wouldn't you? Why, like, unless you're doing something better, and obviously you're not, because you're looking for other opportunities. If you liked where you were at, you wouldn't be looking for other opportunities. It may be something that may be for you, because when they were calling me, I didn't think I'd ever sell insurance. And now insurance is, my work life. Yes. So I would say just take a shot, If it's for you, great. If it's not for you, that's fine. But at least you have the knowledge.
And you got the license, right?
And you got the license. You got the license. You could do different things with that license. And I would say, man, one small thing that I know it's a Gary V thing, but Todd Lauer said it to me. Stop thinking of life as I have to. Start replacing I have to with I get to. It's the smallest thing ever, but your mind just circulate, like you just come at it from a different angle. And that's something that really, helped me. And I tell people that all the time, and they love it. They're like, yeah, that small little change, because there's people out there that don't have that opportunity. There's people out there who've, wish they had a license, or wish they could get one.
It's true. Because that's regulated as well. There are certain criteria, but not big ones, but
not big ones, but yeah,
there are criteria, especially if you're in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Well, look, man, I appreciate you coming on. Definitely has been a pleasure. There's a lot of good information here, and I think it's a great story. I think it's a great story to share, and it's a story that is really kind of to be continued, right? Because it's still evolving, and I'm looking forward to, now you're working with agencies. I mean, that seems to be like kind of the natural progression for you to, kind of launch your own shop and continue to grow and build. And it sounds like you're with an organization that'll even continue to support you, even throughout that, because that's what it's like. I said, that organizational culture, man, it's about having that culture that supports your growth and development, that doesn't want to stagnate you, but wants to see you elevated. And I'm happy for you. I wish you continued, success in this business, continued success as a father, and just, all the abundance that you deserve, man, because you're a great guy. And for those that are listening, this is a great conversation. You should check them out. Hey, Zach, if someone wants to reach out to you, if someone wants to get in contact with you, wants to communicate, how can they connect with you?
You could do so on a couple different levels. I'll give you, personal email. I don't want to give you my phone number, but you can call me on send me an email.
You can use your firms too, if you want to use your firm now and give it personal. Just kind of,
Yeah,
this is
you
gonna
could.
end a couple months, so we'll be okay, right?
Yeah. You can reach me at Z Wilson at Neishloss, NEISHLOSS.com. Yeah, I would say that's the best way to get me. And if you want to put YouTube or podcast in the subject line, so I know where you got my email address from.
Perfect. And social, connect with you on social, or do you use social? LinkedIn?
Hit me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
LinkedIn, I am active on LinkedIn. It's crazy too with that too, Rod. Didn't realize how powerful of a tool LinkedIn was until I started doing what I'm doing now. People answering the phones these days are like dying. My associate just got a new agency just based off of LinkedIn. Hey, how are you? I see we're in the same field. Boom. Then you got a phone call. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, man. Listen, you got to leverage all the tools available. I've actually made some good friends on LinkedIn actually as well. So you look, the world is expansive. The world is expansive. There's tons of tools, and there's tons of great people like Zach out there to help you if you are new into business and you need, some resources, you need some support, you need some guidance, you need some mentorship. He works for a great firm. They're definitely, when I put the information you'll see in the interview, that you can go to their YouTube channel and it's a lot of information. And it's always good to know that there's resources available like that for, folks who are starting in the industry or folks who are in the industry and maybe branching into other market segments. So for those who are listening, thank you for taking the time to, share in this entire interview, getting everything that was discussed. And maybe you heard, one or two things that causes you to say to yourself, you should get a license. Until the next time, we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thanks.